This is America. Welcome to Ranger Reviews, a web series we look at episodes of the TV show Power Rangers and then discuss them. Today we're exploring the 29th episode of the show Power Rangers Zeo, as well as the 184th episode overall, titled A Season to Remember. I was so close to lining this up. So close. We begin this episode as a slow zoom on a Christmas tree and a Santa ornament, showing off that this is a Christmas episode, clearly. The sound of an old man's voice who is talking about how Christmas is the best holiday ever. He then starts to tell a story about Christmas to his grandson. At the youth center, we see Raymond is with the 5 Rangers and Ernie talking about how great Christmas is. Kat brought shrimp because Christmas comes during summer for her in Australia, and Billy isn't there because he went back for his family reunion. Sounds like lies. Then Mondo sees that everyone's being joyous and in love with each other about this holiday, and Machina says that their cultures help them celebrate, but what they're gonna do is take their diversity and make it their worst nightmare. We see the horrible actor of a grandson who is struggling to ask Grandpa what else happened. We then see Bulk and Skull in their detective agency office, and Skull is struggling to wrap a bowling ball, which he then rolls onto Bulk's hand. Someone walks in and says that they have themselves a case. The case of the missing fruitcakes. They need to go find the fruitcakes for their client right away. Bulk and Skull scramble out the door. At the command center, which is decorated both in and out for the holidays, Alpha gets a pair of bunny slippers. Then Alpha's present is that he puts on a Santa hat and a scarf on Zordon. Raymond comes in with a menorah, explaining that he's Jewish and how Hanukkah works. Then Tanya explains what Kwanzaa is, explaining that it celebrates African American values and virtues. Adam and Rocky talk about how cool it is that there are so many different ways to celebrate. This episode sucks dick. Clink comes in, letting everyone know that he has a way to make everyone hate each other. Then Bulk and Skull are out in the field looking for the fruitcakes, and they start to find crumbs to find the fruitcakes, and they find crumbs on the ground, and Bulk is eating the crumbs off the ground for some reason. Then at the youth center, Sprocket and Cog show up, and the Ranger teens try to protect Raymond, and then they all just get shot with some special ray that Sprocket has. This does a weird warp effect around the kids. Then Raymond starts to talk about what the menorah means to Jewish people, and now Tommy is telling him to go away. Then everyone is screaming about how Christmas is the best, or like Kwanzaa is better, and Adam says how Korea doesn't even celebrate holidays around this time of year, and he has no idea why he's even there. I mean, I know it's not supposed to be funny, but that was really funny. This grandson struggles to act like he's concerned about the Power Rangers who are all fighting with each other. Alpha and Zordon are in the power chamber watching this, and Zordon says that Mondo's bias blaster has turned the Rangers into hating each other. They have to find kindness in their own hearts to get their hatred to go away. Then the Ranger teens yell at each other some more, and then they even yell at poor Raymond, who's like just some Jewish dude who's there. Then Mondo has a second phase to his plan. He starts stealing everything from the banquet, and Kat says, "What happened?" And Tommy speaks for the audience when he says, "Can't you see? Everything's gone, duh." Thanks, Tommy, you're the realist. Then we see Sprocket, who has all their stuff. Then a little girl shows up in the youth center, and she says that her mom always tells her to believe in the power of love. And Rocky is a dick, saying that this kid has a lot to learn still. Then she sings some dumbass Christmas song to all of them. Many friends, many hearts, or whatever the fuck. And it ends up making them all love each other again for no reason. Then they hang up the poster with this little girl that she made, and they leave to go get more stuff. Mondo is clearly pissed that their plan fell apart because it was crap to begin with. I mean, come on. At least Zed made evil spinning dreidel bombs. Then Bulk and Skull find a giant fruitcake, and they're confused as to how this happened. Turns out Goldar and Rito, who I forgot were even still on this show, made the giant fruitcake for them. Bulk then says that they're going to have to replace the missing fruitcakes, and Skull says forget it, he's got an idea. He then uses his shoe as a phone. He calls his Aunt Millie, who can make fruitcakes for them. The youth center is all decked out, and Raymond comes in with the Christmas tree, and Tommy brought the menorah. Everyone's getting along again, and Rocky and Adam come in with the Kinara to give Tanya for Kwanzaa. We return to the grandfather, and of course, it's Tommy. His wife, Catherine, says that they need to go to bed. Then someone rings the doorbell, and the kid's older brother shows up, getting ready to leave with the kid, but then this guy's freaking communicator goes off, and he asks if they can watch him for a little bit longer. He leaves, and the grandparents say how things coming up at the last second runs in the family. The end. Except for some reason, we have the full music video for Tanya's song tacked on to the end of this episode. I guess the episode ran short. So okay, I'm not even gonna lie to you. This episode's terrible. It actually aired originally at the very end of Zeo after the season had concluded, but it fits best right here. It's just strange. And also it causes some major headaches for some big fans of the show because it insinuates that Tommy and Kat end up getting married and having children and whatnot, but overall, I don't really care about it enough to think about it. It's pretty obvious it was slapped together as quickly as possible for whatever reason. It's one of those few episodes I think is actually better off just being skipped altogether, unless you just want like a really good laugh. But overall, it actually does nothing for the show. So, will next time be any better? I mean, dear God, please. But until then, may the power protect you. So, will next time be any better? Dear God, please. But until then, may the power protect you.